In moments of darkness, the depths of human cruelty can be unfathomable. A woman, Claire Carroll, endured a horrific assault in the presence of her husband, Aidan, and subsequently witnessed the brutal murder of her entire family. Yet, against all odds, she survived and now seeks vengeance. The story unfolds in Tasmania in 1825, during the tumultuous period known as the Black War. Claire, known as the Nightingale for her beautiful voice, lives a modest life with her husband and their young daughter. On a day marked by the arrival of high-ranking military officials, Claire performs for the soldiers, hoping that her long-awaited freedom papers will finally be signed. However, her dreams turn to nightmares when Lieutenant Hawkins, after a brief conversation, makes a lewd advance toward her. Rejected, he resorts to violence and assaults her. Desperate to shield her husband from the truth, Claire hides the assault from Aidan. When Aidan learns that their freedom remains unattainable, he decides to confront Hawkins directly. The tension escalates when Aidan returns home disheartened after their meeting. Later that evening, fueled by alcohol, Aidan confronts Hawkins in a tavern, drawing the attention of Commander-in-Chief Goodwin, who reprimands Hawkins and threatens his promotion. Enraged by this humiliation, Hawkins plots revenge against the Carroll family. Accompanied by Sergeant Ruse and Iago, he invades their home with malicious intent. In a cruel twist of fate, Hawkins forces himself upon Claire before murdering Aidan before her eyes. In a shocking act of brutality, Iago kills their young daughter to silence her cries. The gravity of their heinous actions weighs heavily. Hawkins orders Ruse to dispose of Claire. Unable to pull the trigger, Ruse instead knocks her unconscious. When Claire awakens to the horrifying sight of her slain family, despair envelops her. She seeks justice at the commandant's office but is met with disdain. Exposing the soldiers' crimes would be too damaging for their reputation. Learning that Hawkins has fled north for a new post, Claire begs friends to bury her loved ones before embarking on a relentless pursuit of vengeance. She hires a guide named Billy to help track down the soldiers. As they journey through the wilderness, Claire discovers that the soldiers have also hired a guide. During a halt in their travels, the soldiers discuss their fears about facing consequences for their actions. Iago expresses concern over the potential repercussions, but Hawkins deflects blame onto the Aidan family. Meanwhile, Claire struggles with haunting nightmares of her child's cries as she and Billy continue their trek through the rain-soaked landscape. The scene transitions to the soldiers navigating through the wilderness, where, while Ruse is momentarily distracted, he catches sight of a black woman accompanied by her child. The man ruthlessly drags the unfortunate woman to his camp, callously abandoning her child in the process. Hawkins coldly commands that she be tied to the cart, preparing for their departure. Back to Claire and Billy, Billy guides Claire toward the river. Its current is fierce, but crossing it would significantly shorten their journey. With determination, Claire urges the horse into the water, only to be violently thrown from the saddle by the rushing stream. While Billy manages to guide the horse safely to shore and extricate himself, the current seizes Claire, pulling her away. Seeing Claire being swept downstream, Billy leaps into action to save her. After a brief respite, they press on. But in crossing the river, they lose a bag of supplies, forcing them to stop at the first house they encounter. Driven by hunger, desperation compels them to steal food, and they narrowly escape the wrath of an irate owner. As night falls and they prepare to rest, Claire spots an unfamiliar man who is all too pleased to have found a pretty girl in the depths of the forest. He eagerly calls his friends to join in his depravity, but Billy swiftly knocks him unconscious, prompting him and Claire to flee urgently. Meanwhile, Hawkins indulges his base desires with a dark-skinned captive. After handing her over to Ruse, he engages in conversation with Eddie, a young boy who has lost his parents and clings to any opportunity to be useful. The following morning, Claire awakens to find Billy crafting a spear for hunting. At that moment, Hawkins' group is violently ambushed by dark-skinned men driven by a thirst for vengeance, as one of their own has been taken captive. In the chaos, one of Hawkins' men is brutally killed by the attackers, and Iago suffers serious injuries to his leg. In a chilling exhibition of dominance, Hawkins coldly executes a woman before her people can react, leaving them in shock and despair. Amidst the turmoil, the soldiers hastily retreat into the depths of the forest, with Iago struggling to escape, running aimlessly in the wrong direction. Wounded and terrified, Iago stumbles through the woods until he spots people and cries out for help. But upon realizing that one of them is the mother of the child he murdered, he flees in terror. Claire asks Billy to tend to the horse while she pursues Iago. When she catches up with him, she shoots without hesitation. Iago pleads for mercy as his gun jams, but Claire's rage transforms her into a force of vengeance. She lunges at her daughter's killer with fists flying. In a brutal struggle, she wrests away his knife and plunges it into him repeatedly before bludgeoning his head with the gun until it is unrecognizable. Witnessing this horrific act, Billy contemplates leaving her side. But upon learning the truth behind her savage revenge, he agrees to help her navigate their path forward. Soon, they stumble upon an abandoned wagon left behind by Hawkins' squad during their encounter with dark-skinned assailants. As Billy inspects the clearing, he attempts to caution Claire, but her resolve remains unyielding. Awakening from yet another haunting nightmare, Claire is gripped by severe chest pain. As a nursing mother, she is painfully aware that her milk has nowhere to go. Overwhelmed by exhaustion, she loses consciousness and tumbles into a ravine. In her vulnerable state, she reluctantly agrees to partake in a ritual suggested by Billy that promises to restore her health. He leaves her to rest while he goes hunting. For the first time in days, they manage to enjoy a proper meal together. Meanwhile, Charlie, one of Hawkins' escorts, unwittingly leads them into a trap, a dead end from which there may be no escape. He acted with intent, driven by a desire to avenge the atrocities committed by the military against his people. The lieutenant, desperate to find a way out, is willing to offer anything for their escape, but the old man stands firm in his refusal. Without a moment's hesitation, Sergeant Roos shoots him, inciting the lieutenant's fury for eliminating their only chance of salvation. A day later, Hawkins openly ridicules Roos, handing the gun to young Eddie and promoting him to sergeant. With only 4 of them remaining and dwindling supplies, their sense of direction toward the city remains uncertain. Meanwhile, Billy and Claire discover Charlie's lifeless body and honor him with a burial in accordance with his customs before setting off on their quest for vengeance against those who wrong them. They quickly reach their target, but Hawkins spots Claire first and fires, wounding her as she flees. Billy catches up to her and suggests they hide. But as he goes to retrieve the horse, he confronts Hawkins' squad. The soldiers beat him mercilessly, forcing him to guide them toward the city. Along the way, Billy makes loud calls that seem to summon birds. In reality, he is signaling Claire to help her navigate through the treacherous terrain. Despite his efforts, the lieutenant catches sight of Claire and fires several shots in her direction. Alone in the dark forest, she wanders through the night, haunted by echoes of that horrific evening. At dawn, she spots the blackbird Billy mentioned and follows it, eventually meeting a married couple who inform her she is on the main road to the city. A passing carriage stops, and the lady inside insists that the coachman give Claire a ride. As they travel, Claire sees Billy emerging from the woods. Recognizing something in his eyes, she realizes Hawkins' squad has met their end. Reunited, they continue their journey and come across an abandoned house where they find the deceased owners lying on the bed. With no other options, they scavenge for food and clean clothes before moving on. Shortly after, they encounter a group of men leading black captives, prompting Claire to aim her gun at Billy, feigning a desire for retribution. A few miles later, they are approached by an elderly couple in a cart who invite them to their home for rest and rejuvenation. During dinner, the elderly man graciously includes both Claire and Billy at the table, bringing unexpected joy to Claire, who watches as Billy suddenly breaks down in tears. The following morning, the elderly man drives both of them into town, where they unexpectedly cross paths with Hawkins. He orders Roos to fetch a constable, claiming he has apprehended a thief who attempted to kill an officer. Enraged, Claire urges Billy to return to safety while she confronts Hawkins at the tavern. In front of the officers, she boldly expresses her fury towards him. Hawkins attempts to defend himself before the new leadership but resorts to violence by striking her in an effort to silence her. In defiance, Claire locks eyes with him and begins to sing a haunting melody that resonates with her pain, before she quietly walks away. Billy helps her onto a horse, and they gallop out of town. That night, Claire awakens alone and decides to return to the city. She witnesses Billy, marked by his tribal colors, entering Hawkins' room and stabbing him with a spear. Roos rushes in at the sound of commotion and fires at Billy, but he still manages to defeat Hawkins before succumbing to his injuries. As dawn approaches, Claire and Billy ride together toward the riverbank. After completing a sacred rite, Billy sits on the sand to greet his final sunrise. Claire begins to sing softly as she gazes at the rising sun. This is all she can do now that those who shattered her life have been brought to justice. What lies ahead for her is no longer of consequence. Thank you for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.